Hi everyone! In this lesson, we will go over 3 of the most fundamental techniques to shading with Magnum needles. A Magnum needle, as we know, is a flat needle with 2 layers of needles stacked on top of each other. And understanding how they work and how to use them for the different shading techniques is fundamental to the skill set of any tattoo artist. The main techniques with Magnums are whip shading, pendulum shading, and patching. These techniques can be done with both Magnum needles and liner needles, but they will produce a variety of different effects and textures depending on how you use them. Let's start by taking a look at whip shading. This is probably the most common of all shading techniques. This effect is produced by brushing the needle in a whipping motion from a starting point out in the direction that we want the shade to go, like this. As you can see, the needle hits deeper at the start of the movement, and as it travels outwards, the space between each needle hit increases and the depth of the needle decreases. This movement creates this sort of natural fade. You can also achieve a more smooth effect the higher the voltage your machine is set on, and a more textured pepper look the lower your voltage is. The most pure form of whip shading can be seen in traditional tattoos. The effects you get from this also largely depends on the speed and the motion of your hand. So I recommend taking your time to experiment with different needles, speeds, and sort of hand movements on a fake skin, so that you can learn and familiarize yourself with the different textures and qualities that whip shading can do for you. Pendulum shading is definitely my favorite shading technique. The moment I discovered pendulum shading, my tattooing changed forever. This technique is fundamental to black and gray realism and is perfect for building up smooth but sort of complex tones. The basic motion is what it sounds like. The needle is brushing back and forth over the skin like a pendulum, entering the skin softly on every stroke in and every stroke out. If this is done well, the movement creates a sort of soft gradient on both ends of the shade, allowing you to have a lot of control over the darkness and the smoothness. This makes it very easy to slowly build up tone variation. Another thing to keep in mind is the angle of which your needle brushes in. If you brush it straight back and forth, you'll see more space between the needle marks. And if you want it thicker and more dense, you can angle the needle horizontally a little bit, like this. This angle makes the space between each needle hit smaller, making it look more dense and smooth. And if you want really smooth shading, this technique works especially well with a curved Magnum, because you also get your shades extra soft from the round edges of this needle. But pendulum shading can be used with basically any needle. And just as with whip shading, alternating the voltage, the speed of your hand, and the needles will give you a number of different textures and finishes. Hatching. Hatching is basically all involving hatching movements, meaning that you brush your needle in a consistent direction every stroke. In drawing, there's also something called cross-hatching, which is hatching lines in layers, often crossed diagonally to create different sort of tone variations. The way we can use hatching with a Magnum needle is to create very light and very even shades. Since you're not brushing the needle back and forth over the skin, it doesn't pass as many times, making it a lot easier to build up a very light and even fade. So, these are your 3 most fundamental shading techniques with Magnum needles. Later on in this course, you'll see all of these techniques being used in many different ways. See you in the next lesson.